What's up, Yuri?
Hey, what's up, Matt?
How are you?
Good, good. How about you?
Good. No complaints. What's going on?
Glad to see you.
Yeah. How you been?
Good. So far, moved to new apartment, and I'm way far from the beach now.
Why did you do that?
It's just a daycare.
Yeah.
We're driving every day, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes one way, and got burned out.
That's
And
good. You're a good dad. Good dad for putting the kids first.
yeah, 5 minutes now, walk to the daycare, and then I can surf all
Oh
day.
yeah, that's better. That's better. How long have you guys lived in New York for?
I've been living in New York for over 13 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then my wife has been here for 5 years.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So how was having Mike and Victor out there with you?
That was so cool. I mean, you're not seeing every day, surfers like at such a high level coming and ripping the waves, in my backyard. So,
Yeah, it's like, oh, that is what's possible with these waves.
I mean, now I see this waves differently, but maybe I need a different board. Maybe I need Bomdia model.
Victor's good, huh? Victor rips.
Very good surfer. I mean,
He's a joy to watch. Yeah, he's a real joy to surf with and watch for sure. I mean, I surf a 6'6" myself all the time. I usually surf like 6'3", 6'4", and then I have a 6'6" version too.
Bomdia.
Huh? Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's not on the website, right? You have to really custom.
No, it's kind of, yeah, like it's always for like stock dims on the site are always just kind of reference points. Like any board can be made outside of that. It's just like customers just need some type of reference point of like, okay, this is like an approximation of length and width and the volume that comes with that. And then sometimes those stock dims work for people, but definitely like there should always be room to size them to fit you if you're ordering one.
Yeah, because a lot of people who I talk to, they don't really know or aware that they can stretch it out and make, a little bit different board.
Well, there's a lot of big labels. There's a lot of brands like bigger labels that are making these like mass market boards, and their stock dims are what they make them in. You know what I mean? The ones that make them overseas factories, it's like this is what they get. They come in this sizes and that's it. But we're a smaller manufacturer. We make them all one by one ourselves, and so of course we can make them any dimensions we want.
So anyone can order now Bomdia in mid-length size, like 6'8", 6.
Oh, for sure.
Wow, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a performance board, so it changes the dynamics of it if you're making it longer, more of a mid-length. But it's still a performance board. It's still really easy to whip around. Even like my 6'6" that I take it out when it's bigger. When I surf like kind of a mushy point break, and when it's bigger, the wave face it's big and it has energy, but it's still kind of slopey, and so a longer rail suits that when it's bigger here. So I'll pull it
Yeah,
out.
when Victor showed up here, I kind of found out his Bomdia. I think it was 5'9", I believe, and felt good. I mean, it wasn't low volume. I mean, it's not my volume the dimensions that I usually surf. But what I've noticed, like feels like towards the nose, it has a little bit thickness.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, like, I guess that's why it was projecting much easier for him, because he was going for like, I mean, it was actually a small day. We had the kind of hurricane swell, but it was small. It was just 1 to 2, maybe 3 footers. And he was just projecting easier on the smaller waves. Maybe it's because there's just kind of friendly volume up front too.
Friendly volume, lower rocker, and then he rides at more volume than people would think. Like he's probably like 160 pounds, 165 right now or something like that. And he rides it at like 30 liters, which most people Like most shortboarders, like professional surfers, shortboarders of his size would ride like 20, volume like 27 or something like that. You know, so
Yeah.
riding.
He's more related to me, I would say, in that range, 5'9", 5'7", versus Asher, 5'4", 5'2", below.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about the Moonstone.
Mhm.
I think I'll see the moon.
Looking good. It's looking like it's hanging tough. Still doing
Yeah.
good.
And then we'll have a real moon behind me. Could you please tell me briefly about the model, how you came up with this?
Yeah, so the Sunstone is Asher's like classic main go-to fish, you know, like kind of like as traditional as we would make a board like that.
Mhm.
And so the Moonstone is like the stretched out longer version, you know, so it takes similar properties of kind of a traditional fish with kind of some modern enhancements, and it's stretched out. It's meant to be ridden with just more rail. The first one I made actually for Eric Geiselman, even before Asher was even writing for us. And I was just kind of riffing off on just like this idea of taking a fish and then making it in shortboard dimensions,
Mhm.
which was just kind of weird. So I like for him, he's a taller guy. And I think I made it like 6'3" by 18 3/4 by 2 3/8 or something like that. So it was almost shortboard dimensions, but in a fit on a fish platform. And so that's kind of where it started from. And then I've done a bunch of iterations since then. Josh Kerr probably surfs this model more than anybody of any of the guys that ride for us. And if you go on his feed and look at his footage, he's riding it all the time and he rips on it. You know,
Yeah, I saw it.
probably his favorite board. I think that the opening wave of him in Sway when he's riding that red
Mhm.
board, it's a Moonstone and like proper Indo. So
Yeah, it's that board looks so sick, like in the short version as well, and as well as in the bigger version, the one I have here. I mean, I have kind of like a stock dimension, 6'8" by 20 by 2.63, I believe. And I really love it. And it's just not me. I know you've probably heard about Gary, my buddy. He followed my path and he got the 6'10".
Yeah, they're addicting. I rode one today. I rode a pintail version today at home here. So I rode like a 7.2 pintail channel bottom version. It's so fun.
Oh, channel bottom version. Wow.
Yeah, there's like we were talking about, any board has variations and different things you can do with it, like stock dimensions, and kind of the template for the model is just kind of as a reference point. So.
What would be the main difference between the pin versus baby swallow you mentioned before? And also, why didn't you can you do the diamond tail too? Or
you could, for sure. I mean, the swallowtail, the standard swallowtail is like the truest version of it. That version is going to have the most drive and projection and fish feel when you put it on rail and you kind of sink that swallowtail carvy feel that a fish gives you. The wider tail also just gives a little bit more planing. That's where you feel the speed on that one in like an open face and when you're really driving down the line. The pintail version, I think, is a little bit more pivot. It gives you a little bit more pivot off the bottom, lets you kind of redirect a little bit more because the outline has a little bit more curve to it. The swallowtail version runs a little straighter because you're taking a fish template and stretching it. So the rail runs a little straighter. So the pintail probably has a little bit more pivot. You can kind of maybe surf it off your back foot a little differently. Probably more hold in like a steeper face, but there's a lot of similarities, a lot of nuance. The baby swallow is kind of like a gunny version where you're going with the pulled in tail, but it gives you like a little pivot point, a little breaking point right behind the fins where the wing is and the tail pulls in. So it gives you a nice sense of control off your back foot. So, but the main engine of the Moonstone is foam distribution throughout and the rocker and the way that the rails are shaped. That's where you really feel that paddle power, where you're like getting, you can feel like you can get into waves like a step or two early. That comes from the rocker and foam placement and all that.
Oh yeah, that's the paddle power. I think that's what another thing like that kind of sold me. I mean, sold Gary too to get one, because he tried mine and he was just blown away that it paddles and it doesn't want to let it go. It just continually projecting to let you get into the wave, even if it's a fat one or wherever. That foam distribution definitely helps in the rocker. Would you be able to talk about the bottom contours?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of our what would be our, it's the same bottom that the Sunstone has. So right in the entry, it's pretty flat, almost like just like a like in the first third, I would guess, from the nose to like to the logo, to your logo, is almost like flat, like a little bit of belly V, just to kind of help it initiate turns. It's real subtle nuance. And then it has like a fairly decent single concave through the middle of the board, you know, all kind of running under your chest, under the front foot. And then it runs into a spiral V through the fins, which is basically a double concave set within a single concave. And then from behind the fins, it's V panels that run off the swallowtails.
Yeah, it's I would say very unique.
Yeah. Well, you'll see a lot of longer fishes and they have like flat bottoms to just V bottoms. And they're maybe a little bit more glide and trim oriented. Whereas the Moonstone, if you watch Josh's footage on it, you can push this thing hard and you can surf it more dynamically. So the foam and the rocker give you the kind of inherent speed and glide. And then the concave gives it like a little bit more spark and something you can really push off of when you're surfing it.
Yeah, what I actually noticed, like immediately why I was really happy about this board is that pushing really hard. I think it's because the tail allows you to sink it much easier. And then it barely gets that bugging feel like when you go to bigger mid length. Usually when you do like that cut back and then you come back to set your line, sometimes this part get bugging like on the face. But for some reason the Moonstone just like arises off it like much easier.
I think that's the concave in the bottom. It keeps the board, keeps lift and keeps water moving. It keeps speed, flow going throughout the turn, you know.
And you also feel like that when you surf it like basically like this, like up to here, and the rest is, you don't even feel that board, like so much volume up front. You feel like this is the part from tail to here that you just move and it feels like a shortboard. I mean, like kind of fishy feel, but not like a big mid length. That even that's the thing about the dimensions. They're not really wide. You know what I mean? Like for yours is 6'8" or 6'10", like 20 isn't very wide. Like normally a board that length would be like 21 and a half. And so overall, it's actually fairly narrow for the length and the thickness that they have. And I think that kind of gives it that a little bit more response rail to rail too. The volume and the rockers doing more of the work than like width and planing area. So yeah, totally agree. I think that's what makes it kind of magical. What else I want? Yeah, food impressions again. Got some food impressions pretty good. I feel like after we talk about that in the previous episode about disorder, about that, the more food impressions you get, the board more get custom for you. And it wasn't that. I mean, it was light glazing, I think, as you do 6 on the top. Right?
6 and a 4 probably. That one probably has a 6 and a 4 and a 6 on the bottom with the fin patch. That's probably standard.
But they don't grow much. I mean, I settled it within first 2 months of surfing, and then after that they just stay the same. Nothing.
Yeah. Just break it into where it feels right.
Bro. Maybe if I start surfing like bigger waves, maybe they will be deeper and deep, go deeper and deeper. Like,
Yeah. That board should dent, like there's a lot of people, there's a lot of misnomers about people thinking like, oh, I want to glass my board, I don't want to have any dents on it. It's like, well, you can make a board that doesn't dent, but they don't ride really good. A board needs to have some flexibility and have a little bit of give. That's what lets it kind of absorb vibration and ridges and the wave, and it lets it kind of load up through turns and flex through turns. And the byproduct of that is you're going to get a little bit of denting, but that's a good sign.
yeah, totally agree. If you don't mind, I would love to share some clips.
You ride in mostly a keel fin? Like which fins you riding on most?
It's a thing like I recently just got the fins from the NVS fins, but I didn't get a chance to put them in yet. So I mostly just, those loveless keels that I have been using kind of go to Aquila IPA. I mean, it does work. I mean, but I feel like when I use Aquila IPA, the board definitely goes like more lively, like in terms of like pivot easier, faster. But if it's a bigger day, it gets a little bit tricky.
Sure.
Not sure what else I should try. I mean, you mentioned in a video about Moonstone that the keel, semi keels, that's the way to go, right? With this.
Yeah, I would generally ride it with our Fascination twins, which are kind of like a semi keel, or we have like a Shapers out of Australia keel fin that works really good with it too. I surf it sometimes with an upright, but I like a big upright if I'm surfing an upright. Like the IPA is probably too small. You probably want something that can fang in a little bit more, that has a little deep.
BMT, Britt Merrick's twin recently got.
I haven't ridden that one, so I don't know the size on that fin, so I haven't used it. But I usually use our NVS upright, or like our Asher 5.79 upright from Shapers is a good option too.
Yeah, I think I will just try those ones because I left them like in a different place, and I just had this swell recently and I didn't get a chance to grab them. But
more fin is usually better than less fin with the Moonstone. Like I'd always err on the side of a little bigger fin than a little less fin. I think you get more out of the board. You can push it a little harder, and it'll generate a little bit more speed if you're driving on it well. So
yeah, the board just.
You're flying on these rides. Whenever this was, the other day, you're looking good.
It's in Bill Maher, like I would say months ago, when I was still in board shorts. This is just recently already in 5.4.
Yeah, change is quick where you guys are. I'm still in trunks out here, but I'm the only one though. Everyone else is wearing a full suit.
Oh, this wave! I wanted just to see. I mean, I would probably surf the same wave on the shortboard the same way.
Yeah.
It just is it? Do you think it's a kind of the way people should surf the Moonstone?
Well, you see how much more like drive it carries your speed through the turn without missing a step. A lot of times a shortboard, you have to keep it rail to rail moving. You have to be driving it for it to keep going, and you can see the board just does more of the work for you.
And this is just a mediocre day, rock away 1 to 2 foot. Don't have to work on speed much.
No, you're flying on all these. You're making sections so easy.
Oh, by the way, so comparing to this our call before and now, you think I did something better in terms of doing like a more bottom turns? Kind of did I improve a little bit, you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. You have more flow. You look a little like more limber in your hips, and you're getting a little lower on some of your bottom turns. And you can see that's like helps generate speed a little bit more. You know what I mean? But you're also not over surfing it, I think, which is good too. Sometimes you'll see you guys that try to hop and wiggle a little bit too much, which is good. It's probably you're really used to the board and dialed with the board, where you're letting it flow and just kind of going with that flow, which always looks more aesthetically pleasing.
That's not force much, right? Let the board go
Mhm.
and do its work, and I guess. But I feel like Moonstone wants you to push it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I would love for you to be able to get it in like in real waves, and then you really would have your mind blown a little bit on what the potential is there. You should go back and watch the sway edit with Josh, and you can see the waves that he's on the red board as he's riding the Moonstone. And then if you look at some of his recent edits in Mexico, he has a couple clips in Mexico riding one too, and it's pretty unreal surfing for what you would think is like just a stretched out fish, but he surfs it pretty beautifully.
If I go back to Moonstone and then, my mother body got 6.6. I didn't try it yet. Do you think I should have gone with 6.6, or you think 6.8 still fits?
Yeah, there's a big range that you can ride these. Like for me, I'll ride the Moonstone 6.6 to 7.8. You know what I mean? There's like, it just depends on how much board you want and what you want to get out of it and where it kind of sits in your quiver. I would usually err on the side of a little bigger than a little smaller. I mean, Josh rides his 5.10 to 6.0, but his Twinsman is like 5.4 or something like that. So he's riding 6 to 8 inches longer than his Twinsman would be. So it really just depends. Like my Twinsman would be 6.0, 6.1, 6.2. And that's why I'm usually riding like 6.10, 7.0, 7.2 in a Moonstone, because I want that little extra cheat, and I'm not giving up the maneuverability that I'm getting out of that style of board by going a little bit longer. So yeah, there's no like, that's what's kind of fun about this style of board is there's not like one exact size that you could ride it. Like if you had a 7.2, you'd love it. You took out a 6.6, you'd probably have a blast too. So
yeah, I sat on Gary's 6.10, which has, I would say like a roughly 3, maybe 4 liters more, and then it's beefier rails. On my board they're kind of beefy, they're chunky rails.
The flat deck, that volume in the deck kind of goes out a ways, kind of similar to the Twinsman. It's just not concave, it's just flat and then slopes down. So
and I didn't feel much difference when you sit. You feel like you sit on the 6.8 too. But when you start paddling, that gives you a little bit extra that push.
But the key, his 6.10 is probably only a 1/4 inch wider than your 6.8, right? So, which is like nothing. It's like 1/8 of an inch on either rail. So
but when you sit, especially on different other boards, from different brands, when you have that extra liters, like a 3.4, you definitely feel that. Like you see, like, oh, wow, this is already bulky.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of times you'll see like some of the bigger labels, when they scale their boards, they just kind of take maybe it was originally a 5.8 and they just scale it. When I'm making bigger boards, I really am focusing on making them still feel really crisp and refined, so that a 6.8, 6.10, 7.0 has the volume in it, but it doesn't feel like a big brick when you're holding it. The rail still feel refined. It's about like hiding and kind of distributing that volume, so it still feels like a crisp, a little bit knifier board, even if it's bigger. So
yeah, very, very interesting, because I was impressed. It was like 6.10, and then it feels like same as the 6.8. What's going on?
Yeah.
Maybe I should have gone with 6.10.
Well, that's why I say you can always you can always err on a little bit more sometimes. With that style of board, I would always like, it's not like if you have the 6.10 versus 6.8, it's like, oh, if I had the 6.8, I'd be doing tail blows. It's like, you're not surfing that kind of board, that style anyways. And so something a little bit more probably allows even a little bit easier wave catchability, a little bit more speed, and the similar style of turn that you'd be doing on a one that's 2 inches smaller. So,
all right. So I have a lot of questions from my listeners, and I think the main question I get from DMs, and especially for Album Surfboard fans, they're confused, and they want more answers.
Sure.
Because they see me on the Plasmid.
Yep.
Go well. Now I have Moonstone. And what do you think the biggest difference between Plasmid and the Moonstone? I know like it's narrower. I feel like from my standpoint, I think the Moonstone has a little bit more performance over Plasmid. Would you think?
The Plasmic overall has like a flatter rocker, so it's definitely more down the line speed, and it surfs more off the tail. So it's a little bit probably back foot oriented because of the concave channel and where the fins are. It's the kind of board that opens up when you're surfing off the fins. Whereas I think the Moonstone has a little bit more variability. You can kind of move around a little bit more like you do with the fish. You can kind of narrow your stance and you can trim a little bit more, step back when you want to turn. And the Plasmid is a driver off of the fins and off of the slot channel. So I think the Plasmid maybe packs in a little bit more volume in similar dimensions because it's a little, obviously the tail, it doesn't have a swallowtail generally, so there's a little bit more surface area in the tail as well. But they're similar. I mean, the difference is the Moonstone was kind of like designed at that size, and the Plasmid is like taking a 5.2 and making a gigantic version of it and just seeing what get out of it. You know what I mean? But the Plasmic concept is one that I do so many variations on. Like I myself personally, I ride a version of the Plasmic all the time. Like I have a 6.0 swallowtail quad. I have like two 7.6 ASIM Plasmids that are like just slight ASIM tails. I have like a 6.9 pintail. I have a 7.8 really stretched out Plasmid.
Oh my God.
I've got a ton of them because it just really works. Like that concept with the channel and how that creates this really unique concave and where the fins are placed. It's just fun. It's just fun in a different way.
And you definitely feel the difference, like from moving from one board to another. It would be
I mean, there's a lot of similarities. The overlaps are they're both great paddlers. They both like get into waves really easily. They're both really fast. The swallowtail Moonstone is very similar in how it drives down the line. I think the Plasmid generally probably feels like it sits a little bit more on top of the water, and so it feels just like a freight train.
Really, you think fast. It's more oriented for beginners, like because of the, if you would take kind of a stock dimensions, order from your from just directly going to your website and buy it, I feel like it's by default already wider, so that people who has a little slower pop-up, they not necessarily want to do that rail to rail work. They just want to go more down the line, and Plasmid would fill their need. I think that would.
Yeah, the Plasmid is pretty much like you can be a terrible surfer and still go really fast, right? You know what I mean? Like it'll kind of like if you just hang on, it'll just go. And so probably, but there's a whole different level of like what that bottom setup will do when you know how to unlock it. So I think just sizing, like someone who's like a beginner or newer to surfing and hasn't played around with mid lengths, if they jumped on either one, they would have a blast and have fun and get a lot out of either one. I think sometimes it's more just like design wise or aesthetically, what am I more into? What's more interesting to me? Like what do I want to play around with? So.
Yeah, I usually recommend the people who just trying to jump from the like 9-foot foamy or 8-foot foamy down to the mid length, and they text me, hey, I'm on Album Surf, like I see this Plasmid now 7.2, should I go for it? And then I usually, let me check the dimensions, and then I see like it's already going into 21 inches range, and like it's gotta be good because
I mean, usually for me, I probably push that type of a surfer into the darkness more so just because it's like a little bit, it's just simplified, it's a little eggier, it kind of is like a little bit more it's user friendly in that it's easy to surf, like it's easy to trim, it's easy to turn, there's not too much that's going to get tricky or complicated about it. You know, it just kind of naturally has a lot of flow, and there's a good balance. There, I find like people learning to kind of turn a real board coming from that type of soft top or something like that. The twin variation on the darkness is really great because you have that glide and you've got the surface area, you have enough width where there's stability. The twin fins, some people think it's going to be like too loose and squirrely, but it actually kind of gives it a balance, you know, more so than a single fin. A single fin can feel a little bit more tipsy. The twin fin has a little bit more stability, but it's no drag. So doing a turn or letting a bigger board come around through a turn is just easy.
Yeah, the one I had, the 7.2 Plasmid. Oh, that felt definitely less of a board, but still projecting easier than mine. Yeah, one of the my buddies got down and cruising easy. Love it. What are the plans for you for the future now? I mean, Bomdia, now I saw you doing collab with snowboarding company or snow?
Yeah, Karua Shapes is this great snowboard brand out of Europe. I've ridden their boards for a few years. They're very surfy oriented in their snowboarding approach, in carving and turning, and they're really like made for that feel, surfy, carvy feel. And so we've had a good. My son actually kind of rides for them. My 19-year-old son, very good snowboarder, and so I've been friends with the guys over there for a while. And so I shaped about like a quiver of boards, and I glassed them all in kind of the Karua colorways, and then they sent over a batch of snowboards, like a quiver of snowboards. And their art director Aaron is coming to California, and he's going to paint on the surfboards, and then I'm going to do some painting and some artwork on the snowboards. And then we'll probably sell them for like a nonprofit or something like that as like a little fun little collaboration. We'll probably go ride them too, go ride the boards. I think we're gonna go to Japan or something like that and go do both, go surf and snowboard this winter on the quiver of boards, and then we'll do something with them. So.
Oh, that's great. What models are gonna be in that?
The surfboards, there is a step up Bomdia. It's like I think it's 6'6", 6'8" maybe. I did the Lucent, which is like Asher's new mid-length 20. I did a Disaster, and I did a Bomdia Roundtail, like a smaller one. I did a Twinsman, like a 6'1" Twinsman. I think I did like 6 or 7 boards. I think that's it.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Asher is yeah, I saw his post some mid-length.
Yeah, we're always playing around with different things. So that was a huge step, a huge jump from what he's been used to riding for years. So now he loves the paddle ability. When the waves are on the east coast of Australia, there's a lot of current on some of those points. And when he's coming up to Kira and it's good, it's like there's a ton of current. And so he's felt the joys of riding something more like 6'6" and how it's just easier to catch waves.
So he's on the site now.
Yeah, it's just been it's cool. It's been really fun for him. It's like new experience for him. It's fun to watch him on it too. So
awesome. Well, yeah, that's I think that's about it. That's a wrap of this. Thank you, Matt, for your time, taking time to join the call.
No problem. Anytime. Keep it up. Keep having fun.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna try to think. Maybe I'll go for the Bomdia. Just feel like I kind of want to get something. Like I've been watching Victor nonstop, and
there's 2 versions. Like you saw him ride the twinny version, the winged roundtail twin, and then there's the ASIM quad. I would do the ASIM quad first. Yeah, that's like the main version of it, and it goes insane backside, front side.
So the size, I feel like, should I go 6'1"? Is 161 available?
Well, remember the on the heel side, because of the ASIM, it's probably like a 6'1" is like a 5'10" on the heel side. So you can go. Yeah, how tall are you?
5'9".
Yeah, you could ride 6'0", 6'1".
6'0", 6'1".
Yeah.
All right. Maybe it will be a Christmas gift. Gotta get approved first.
Well, I am working on the first batches we've done, all sold pretty quick. And so I have a few more stock runs for the shop coming through. So, and I've got like a Varial batch coming. I think I have a Dark Arts batch coming too. So there'll be a good little selection on in the shop.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you, for the Varial foam, what do you think about going in the mid-length size for Varial? Do you think it's working much better in the shorter size, or when it goes a little bit bigger, it's a little bit going?
It's definitely like that construction. Varial foam is like performance oriented, and it takes some weight off. Obviously, it's a little bit lighter. It's like 15% lighter than PU. So, but there's limits. Like their blank, I think the biggest blank they make is like a 710 or something like that.
Mhm.
And so there's kind of limitations to what board you can fit out of Varial. We use that more for performance boards, like performance boards, you know what I mean? Because that's usually someone riding Twinsmans and light benders and Bongias, things like that. They're looking for like that sparky, lighter weight, kind of snappy feel, and Varial definitely has that. But you know, it's super durable. The stuff lasts forever. It never dies. And so if you have a board that you love, you know, it's going to be a little bit, probably a little bit more nimble feeling, a little lighter weight, something you can whip around a little bit. So
It's not gonna chatter crazy, like that DPS.
no, it has more dampening properties than EPS does for sure. I don't know if I've said this talking to you before, but I like Varial boards once you've broken them in. Like sometimes the first few surfs, they can feel a little bit stiff. And then as you break them in and you get a little footwells going, they really come alive and seem to get better. And so that's usually what I tell people when they order Varials. Like just go surf it for a few weeks and you'll see it start to come alive and like really open up your turns and stuff.
Great. All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for answering questions. And
thanks, Jerry.
Maybe I'll see you soon. I am thinking maybe I'll go to either California, Central America. I'm thinking I need a surf trip too.
Yeah, you need to come out and go to Mexico. Go down to like Salina Cruz and go surf some points.
Yep, the real waves. Because this waves behind me in my backyard.
I know. It'll try your patience as a surfer, man. You got to have like a trip on ready all the time.
Okay, we'll do. All right.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Jerry. We'll see ya.